I think of the Tom Brady thing maybe a little bit different than all of you. When you hear Tom Brady is going to be the lead broadcaster for Fox, and you hear he's going to make, $345 million over 10 years, your jaw drops to the floor, and you wonder, I wonder if it's any good. There's a lot to this. I mean, I do think that the more people talk, write, tweet, the more they don't truly understand the business, right? Like, wow, why would you pay that much money for him? Why wouldn't you pay for Buck and Aikman? Because that's more money than the two make combined. And the answer is this is a corporate America move. We think it has to do with us. It does not. The Super Bowl, which Fox has 2 of the next 3 Super Bowls, the Super Bowl, hey, in order to command top dollar, you can't be wishy-washy about who's going to be broadcasting the games. You can't be, and this is no disrespect to Greg Olson, who I think is a great broadcaster. He was a hell of a football player. But Tom Brady walks into a room, and Greg Olson walks into a room. I mean, it's just the reality of it, right? The guy's got more Super Bowls than anybody else. And with the talk, there's just not that many guys out there. And if you ask why so much money, you are worth what somebody's willing to pay. And for Tom Brady, who you would think has all the money he needs, the fact is that you're not just paying him to broadcast. You're not just paying for his name. You're paying for him to leave his family 17 weekends out of the year in the regular season. And then, of course, you have the 4 weekends out of the year in the postseason. Plus, you're selling all of that incredible advertising all those advertising dollars based upon the fact that we got Tom Brady. They got Troy Aikman and Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. We got Tom Brady. They got Tony Romo. We got Tom Brady. But what's even more impressive, if you actually stop and think about it, is that Tom Brady is incredibly popular. Tom Brady has made himself into a beloved father figure, family man. He continues to sell his own brand of clothing. He has the Tom Brady formula for eating and diet success, the TB12 method. Has anybody gone back and thought, this wasn't always the case for Tom Brady? Right? I mean, think about it. You had Deflategate. Deflategate wasn't 10 years ago. Okay? On May 16, 2015, the NFL published a 243-page report reporting deflated footballs used in the AFC Championship game. Tom Brady had the Deflategate suspension, which was handed down on February 29, 2016. He appealed. It went back and forth. And, of course, to start the 2016 season, he was suspended the first 4 games. At that point in time, even after they won yet another Super Bowl, Tom Brady was not beloved. He was hated. Remember, Tom Brady had a MAGA hat, which at the time set a lot of people off. Tom Brady was seen as a cheater for Deflategate, for destroying his phone. I can explain away the fact that if I'm Tom Brady and I have those kind of friends and I have messages from whoever on my cell phone, the last thing I want to do is some NFL investigator seeing my messages. Any of my messages. Even football messages. That's not your business. I could defend it away. The fact is that how the public perceived it was, this is a guy who, like the rest of the Patriots, will cut corners. Like the rest of the Patriots, will Spygate, Deflategate. Who knows what other gate that we haven't walked into. Tom Brady thinks he's better than everybody else, like so many Bostonians think. They're smarter than everybody else just because there's so many colleges and universities right there in downtown Boston. Right? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. What led to Deflategate? What led to the investigation? They beat the Baltimore Ravens. They used some tackle-eligible plays that screwed up the Baltimore Ravens. And when the media asked about John Harbaugh being upset, he's like, they should read the rule book. The ultimate arrogant statement from the ultimate arrogant successful team, the Patriots. People didn't like Tom Brady 4 or 5 years ago. But then he leaves New England. He goes to Tampa. And because it's a either injured or just disappointing franchise for so many years, it's not like he went to a favorite. It's not like he was KD joining the Warriors. This would be KD joining the Sacramento Kings. And then leading them to a Super Bowl. And after coming back for another year, deciding, you know what, I got one more year in me, at least. Tom Brady's become a lovable dude. He has multiple reality shows and shows about his life and what it's like to be him as a star. Suddenly now he's posting things like, the Tuck rule might have been a fumble. He's playing in golf. He's playing in golf matches on TV. I almost feel robbed of the first 15 years of Tom Brady because he was in New England. But Tom Brady wasn't this dude. You want to talk about image rehab? You want to talk about public perception doing a 180? I give you Thomas Patrick Edward Brady II. That guy was hated 10 years ago. And now he's beloved, and he's going to be the highest paid broadcaster. And my guess is that if they lose this year before the Super Bowl, you'll hear Tom Brady on the call of said Super Bowl. Jay Stu, what do you think? I know you're not a big Brady guy. What do you think of that way of looking at it?
Yeah, I think that everything you said makes sense. It's a good angle to take on this. I just resent that we are talking about it now, since there's zero end date for his retirement, as he tweeted out today, unfinished business. And there's no guarantee he's going to be any good at it. We've seen Drew Brees, and we've seen, Joe Montana, and just because you're super good at something doesn't mean you're going to be good at talking about it. I think he's become likable, but that's not good enough to get my interest. If you're going to move the needle with me, you need to be able to kind of crack on your fellow teammates. You need to be able to be critical, be the anti-Tony Romo, who's just kind of a spaz in the booth. But anyways, yeah, those are kind of my first thoughts anyway.
The spaz in the booth?
Yeah, Romo's gotten ridiculous.
I think there's a lot to Romo. I mean, if I was going to be hypercritical of Tony Romo, the broadcaster, he was so good early on, such a breath of fresh air. It did feel like he had the answers. It was like a guy who had the answers to the questions, and then pretending like he knew he'd studied harder than everybody else. I think they're going to throw the tight end here, right? And that since has disappeared. But Tony does have an every guy as quarterback sort of feel to him. But I'm with you. And look, we don't know if he's going to be any good. Most times the best broadcasters are not the best players. Magic Johnson's been bad. He's been hired several times over. He's not good. He's just not. Michael Jordan's obviously never done it. Peyton Manning does it, but he does it within his own within his own kind of production company and way of doing it. But I just think it's interesting that, like, Alex Rodriguez Alex Rodriguez did far worse things than Tom Brady. And maybe Alex Rodriguez rode Jennifer Lopez to rode her coattails. I might want to rephrase that one. You guys, we can rephrase.
We'll clean that up and
we'll clean that one up in the post-show edit. Rode those coattails to popularity, right? But this is Tom Brady kind of doing it on his own. And look, everything's about timing, right? ESPN needed a home run because Monday Night Football was such a mess, and they're getting a Super Bowl, so they quote unquote overspent, and then Fox came in and said, and this isn't a Fox Sports sort of deal. This is from up very high. Somebody with the last name Murdoch made that deal. Yes, Dan Byer.
I think it was me that had the question. But maybe Dan has a question, too.
No.
I'm to John Ramos.
My question is something
the senator from
Senator from New Mexico.
Yeah. No, the senator from South Pasadena.
My question is for you because you said something in your initial monologue about the reason why they're paying him this money is because he has to go away for like 17 weeks plus playoffs. Wasn't the problem with him playing football that exact reason? I mean,
yes,
because he had to leave.
There is a little.
It's quite interesting, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't been at home in so long, and I don't know. He's a football junkie.
Can't get away from it.
It's like the mafia, man. It's football junkie.
You think you're out, but they grab you and they pull you back in.
Pulling you back in. And I'm sure it's sold to him as a look, dude. You're gonna be home Sunday night in your own bed.
Yep. You're not gonna be hit by people. No one's gonna knock your head off.
Well,
not that they do anyway.
You have Monday. You have you have from the second weekend in February until September 1st. Okay, so you got February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, August. So you got 7 months to do nothing. And then you got to work. You probably got to be there Friday. So you actually probably have 4 days a week. Then you fly in on a Friday. You go to practice. You do all that stuff. You work on a Sunday, and you're done. You're out. You don't work Sunday nights ever. They don't have Thursday nights ever. So I'm sure that's the way it's sold to them. Whereas you're going to want to work, and this is it.
I look at it like this: like the first 5 years of this deal is for Fox to have Tom Brady fresh out of retirement to be their guy. But you'd have to think that after 5 or 6 years of Tom Brady not being in the game and the newness of it, even though he is the GOAT, that would wear off a bit. And the final 5 years of this deal are for Brady, who has his production company. Is currently filming a movie with the old ladies, as we talked about. That's the real transition for Brady of, all right, now I'm tied in for, I'll do this for this part, but then after, maybe after the 10 years or after whatever, he can then really have his role with media, with the Fox Corporation, and that sort of thing.
So I'm not sure how it. Why does it change after 5 years?
Well, I just look at it like after 5 years, like Tony Romo's been doing it. How many years now? 4 or 5? Mm-hmm. And to your point is like we're kind of like, all right, that's Romo, But so the newness, this splash is so good for Fox for this newness. When he retires, the first couple of years, it's Tom Brady. But you would have to think that in year 9 and year 10 of him being in the booth, it's not the same as it was in year 1 or year 2. So in just of looking at the contract, like the first 5 years is probably beneficial for Fox because they've got the biggest name that you could land. And then Brady probably in the second half of the year is like, all right, as I transition, because I don't think he's going to be a guy who's in the booth for 30 years. But I think it's beneficial for his production company, for him to be in the movie industry, for him to be in the TV industry, to have this relationship with Fox and then move on to that point.
Okay. I don't think it's any the Fox relationship. I would say is it a great promotional tool for everything else?
Why did Murdoch announce it? This wasn't even an Eric Shanks sort of deal.
Because Eric Shanks had nothing to do with it. This is the Murdochs going like, hey.
Yeah, and that's
this is, and it was on an earnings call. This is a Madison Avenue deal.
Yeah.
Okay? We got our guy. We went and look, the Murdochs they sold off the rest of Fox, so they're just sitting on cash. So you only use it for top end events. Right? We talk about the Belmont Stakes, right? What they have starting next year. They're going to spend a ton of money on the Big Ten. I don't think he'll broadcast the Big Ten game, but it wouldn't stun me if he did. If he did a Michigan game, like if you got Tom Brady, you put him on Michigan, Ohio State, or at least you have him make an appearance on it. Right? I'm sure that's part of it. He'll do Fox appearances as well. So that part you're right. But I don't think I could be wrong.
Or you disagree with me. That's it.
No,
right.
I could be wrong in terms of the.
And I could be right.
Will he have the? But you're acting like he won't have the same cachet in year 6.
I'll just say the splash is like huge. Like we are talking about this, but after a while, like as he is further removed from the game, he's still going to be the GOAT.
Yeah.
Just like we thought Joe Montana was the GOAT for so long, or but it's not the same as him just coming out of retirement. And I'm not saying he's not going to be worth anything to Fox, but I think in Brady's case, it's like, all right, once I maybe stop calling games, now I've got this relationship and all these other tentacles in other areas of the company and in the media that you could go on and, do that.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think, I'll be honest with you, Dan, I think that's part of the plan initially. I don't think there's any waiting there.
Sure.
I think like this guy he has his clothing brand. He has his TB12. I think, and do I think that slowly expands? Yeah. But I think that's what this is. I think this is partnering with his brand. That's how he views it. And I think that part will be immediately. The question becomes, it's like, here's where it's got great foresight. Okay? Who's the only other guy who can retire in the next 5 to 10 years with any sort of similar cachet? Aaron Rodgers. Here, what's the difference? That to this point, and I think Aaron Rodgers, one of the things he's tried to do since the season ended, and frankly has tried to do even during last season, is try to do the Tom Brady and be more likable. It's just hard. That's just not like Aaron's. His brand is very different. His brand is organic and counterculture, and I'm an honest salesman, and right, like that's so. Mm-hmm. I guess part of the lure to him is like Peyton Manning, who was. I still think that if they were both available on the market and both want to do it, I actually think Peyton Manning would get more money and would be more sought after. Just Peyton doesn't want to do it every week. He just doesn't. He doesn't want to do a traditional broadcast to this point. If he said, like, I want to do it, for example, CBS, they'd bring him on instead of Romo in a second. He's Peyton Manning. He's the best. Right? So I think that part of his value is that Fox was left with, maybe overpaid a steal Drew Brees over who hasn't shown himself to be particularly good, or who else? There's no coach out there that appears to have, like Arians was kind of a disaster when he's done TV stuff. Belichick will never be good on TV, right? So who is there that's won Super Bowls, that has the cachet, that can talk the talk? And when you got 10 Super Bowl appearances and 7 Super Bowl wins, and yeah, I actually agree with you in terms of the brand building. I just don't think that it's something that he'll wait on. I think that's all part of, like, this is all part of a plan for him.
Yeah,
all part of a plan for him.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I just was looking at the deal, like breaking it down where it really benefits, who in the short term and then who it's really going to benefit in the long term. Because he'll have those relationships that he has built throughout those, 10 years.
Think about if you're Terry Bradshaw for a second, where just forever Terry Bradshaw was like, end of the day, like Terry Bradshaw's got 4 Super Bowls. Like nobody's ever going on TV, and they tried Montana, he was bad on TV. Like nobody's going on TV that has any more championships than is like Tom Brady shows up with 7. You're like, oh, okay. But those guys have been able to capitalize this post-career and just ride it and have really good lives. And I actually think Bradshaw is a great, he has the reality show. He's had TV shows. He's done stand-up comedy. He's done charitable work. Like, it's actually kind of fascinating on his post-career career. All right, so more on that. We'll get some of your thoughts as well. @Gottlieb Show is the Twitter handle. @Gottlieb Show is the Instagram. And, of course, the Doug Gottlieb Show fan page on Facebook.